Alright, rock on. When I last left you in Photoshop, in part 2, we had the blade and the handguard done, and I left it up to you guys to put some other stuff on the handle itself. Now you'll notice I've put kind of a leather texture on there, and I did that on purpose because if these two don't line up perfectly, we'll have weird wrapping issues when it places the texture on there. But I also put not Excalibur engraved into this side of the handguard so you can see the difference between the sides. And I added a little bit more detail to the blade. Hurrah! So I'm going to go File, Save. I'm saving it as outuv.tiff. Really you can save it as whatever it is that you'd like, but that's what I'm saving it as. Now you have to make sure and turn off this background layer on the top, the one with your lines on it, and you have to make sure and turn off the one in the background as well. You don't want any of those lines showing through, or else it will actually put lines on your object. Okay? Now, like I said, all this stuff outside doesn't really matter. So File, Save, and then we'll go back into Maya. Now, don't move any of these UVs now, because since you've used those as your guide for coloring them, if you move them around now, it won't wrap correctly. So, go to Object Mode, and I'm going to assign it a new material. Just for now, I'm going to give it a Lambert. I'm going to name it Sword Hole, so that I know it's the whole sword. Under the colored checkbox, I want you to go ahead and click that little checkered option box and make sure normal is selected under textures, 2D textures, and then click File. Okay. Essentially, if that doesn't work, sometimes it won't, where you click File and you get error, no object matches, whatever. We're going to do this a different way now. I'm going to go to Window, down to Rendering Editors, down to Hypershade. We touched on this very briefly earlier, but I'm going to go ahead and select in the Hypershade. I'm going to go ahead and middle click and drag this down to my sword object. Okay. And then it's applied the texture to it. So you can either go in the Hypershade and click the texture, or you can click on your sword and navigate to the texture. But at any rate, I want you to click on this checkered box and click File. Now you can see it comes up with a file down here, and image name. You want to click on that and you want to find your whatever it was you saved it as. I saved it as outuv.tiff. So I'm going to click Open, and you can see in my Hypershade and in my texture sample that now Sword Hole has this strangely colored texture applied to it. Again, I'm going to go ahead and middle click and drag this onto my sword, and for some reason it doesn't. Oh, haha, I do this a lot. I do this so much, you have no idea. If you hit 4, you get wireframe mode. If you hit 5, you get a basic shaded. If you hit 6, then you get to see your texture. So, you can see that I have a little bit of wrapping issues. These don't quite line up. They're not quite the same angle. Okay. Because I didn't rotate them exactly right and whatever. So, we may get into later chapters into how to fix that, but for now, you can see that not Excalibur is on the one side, and you can see that I have a nice light shiny part now. What I want to do, because this is all Lambert material, so it's really not shiny, even though it's supposedly metal. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Face Mode. I'm going to select the blade. I'm going to right click on it, go down to Assign New Material, and since I know that I want to make it a blend, go up to blend. Hooray, it's a blend. And it's now it's shiny, but it no longer has our sword texture, so rename it blade, something that lets you know what it is. Click on their checkered box, go to file. Again, it didn't want to work, so essentially if that doesn't work, which it didn't, go back up to your window, down to rendering editors, down to your hypershade, and click on blade, your blade material, and click and assign it a file, and then it will work again. So open. Okay, see, it reapplies that blade there. Okay, I'm going to do the same with the handguard. I'm going to make sure I didn't get anything else that I don't want. Okay, make sure I only got the handguard, which it appears I have done. And I'm going to, well, I can do this one of two ways. I can assign it a new blend, since it's going to be a blend anyway, or I can just middle click and drag and give it the same as the sword blade. And then I'm going to leave this the Lambert because leather's typically not shiny. That was probably a bit confusing the way I said it, but at any rate, let's go ahead, go back to object mode, and we'll select it, and we're going to get it ready for a little bit of a photo shoot here. We're going to attempt to. I recommend that you save it before you start doing this stuff. You know, now that you got the texture all applied, before you start moving it all around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to it, you know, just save it and make sure that you've, you know, got that done at least. So I've got my knot Excalibur. I'm just going to grab some lights, move them up, hit T on the keyboard for this manipulator that lets you accurately aim the light. Okay, make sure it's aimed where I want it, straight down. And we'll get another one. We'll move the light over yonder. Oops. And we'll move this so that it's reflecting, so that it's just shooting. I want it kind of bouncing off of the blade a little bit. That looks okay. So we'll go ahead and do it this way. And then I'm going to put in an ambient light. And this one you just need the move tool for because it's not pointing at anything. And we'll put that there, and I don't want it so bright. I'm going to hit 7 for a little render of what this is going to look like. We'll go ahead and do that. And for these two, I'm going to go into my attribute editor, select the light, go into your attribute editor, and I'm going to go down to use ray trace shadows for this one, and for the other one, not for the ambient light. Alright, let's have a look and see. I fear I don't have enough light up there, but let's have a look. Right, oh, my spotlights are not quite right. So let's go ahead and we'll just move and we'll futz around with them. And this will go down the length of the blade. But I definitely want it to point from the tip. And move it back a little bit. Awesome. And let's try that. So there's a bunch you can do. Now it's up to you to light it and make it all pretty full. But that's essentially the basics of doing UVs. Now with really complex models, you're not going to want to do UVs in Maya. You'll probably do them in Blender or something. Blender's a program I recommend you get to know, just because it's free and it does UVs quite a bit better than Maya does. I mean, for something like this, keep in mind each vertex is going to be a UV, and the fact that there are so many different pieces, just, you're going to probably want to do it in Blender.